When could the negotiations on Ukraine's accession to the EU be completed? The heating season has started in Zaporizhzhia. What are the specifics? And a lottery at a cemetery in Paris. What do you need to do to be buried next to Oscar Wilde? This is TSN Online. I'm Ivan Kostrova. Hit like and let's get started. The hunt for Shaheds. Over the course of the night, the Russians launched 80 drones. 61 of them were either shot down or suppressed by electronic warfare. The drones took off from 4 directions at once: Kursk, Oriol, Milerovo, and Primorsko-Akhtarsk. Our defenders engaged enemy targets in the north, south, and east of the country. 18 strike drones hit 7 locations and debris fell in 2 more. The occupiers attacked not only with UAVs, but also with other heavy weapons. Reports of injured people and damaged infrastructure came in from almost all frontline regions last night. Among those under attack were Sumy, Chernihiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Mykolaivka, Kherson, and Donetsk regions. 4 rescuers were wounded in the Zaporizhzhia district when the bus they were traveling in was attacked by an FPV drone, and in total the Russians launched nearly 500 drones of various types at the region. They also used other types of weaponry. In just one small village, Ternuvate, they dropped 4 aerial bombs. Dnipro region also suffered from drone attacks. In the Sinelnikivsky district, 3 people were wounded overnight, with explosions occurring one after another. A 41-year-old man was injured. He was hospitalized. A private house caught fire and 6 more were damaged. Infrastructure and a gas pipeline were also damaged. 2 more people were wounded in Nikopol district as a result of drone attacks, and in Ternivka, Pavlograd district, an infrastructure facility was hit. In Donetsk region, the occupiers killed a resident of Kostiantinivka and wounded another local resident. 2 people were injured today in Dobropilya and Kramatorsk. Medical assistance was also needed for 1 person in Raihorodok. In Kherson region, 3 people were wounded. More than 30 settlements in the region came under fire. In particular, the Russians once again shelled the residential neighborhoods of the Korabelny district in Kherson. More than 10 private houses were destroyed. Some of them were reduced to ruins. 3 people were also wounded in Chernihiv region. They are residents of Novorod-Siversky. The occupiers attacked the city with a swarm of strike drones. Homes and cars were smashed, and in the Korobska community, an aerial bomb damaged the power grid. A Russian FPV drone struck a car that was delivering bread to the Seredino-Budska community. This is already in the Sumy region. The driver, suffering from mine explosive injuries and a concussion, was taken to the hospital. The female passenger did not require hospitalization. In addition, the occupiers launched several waves of attacks on Sumy and its suburbs, damaging houses and non-residential buildings. There were no casualties there. The number of wounded in Mykolaivka, Dnipropetrovsk region, has risen to 9. The occupiers struck the village almost simultaneously with a missile and a Shahed drone. A shop on the main street was destroyed. 1 of the customers died at the scene, while 2 adults and a 5-year-old girl are in serious condition in the hospital. TSN correspondent Anastasia Nevirna will tell you more about the aftermath of the attack.
Ruins that have persisted for the 2nd day now. Here, a home and a family business, the shop, are coming to an end. A bewildered Mrs. Lyudmila walks from one yard to another, trying to find anything that survived. She searches not for the sake of her belongings, but to distract herself from terrifying thoughts.
My daughter's arm and leg were amputated. She's 37 years old and has 2 children. They took her to Dnipro. She keeps shouting, "Mom, don't cry, we'll still dance together."
My daughter survived thanks to her husband, says Mrs. Lyudmila. He gave her first aid and protected her during the 2nd attack, which also caused a lot of damage.
The man did everything he could. He bandaged her up right away and threw himself on top of her, shielding her with his own body. The girl worked at the shawarma place. She lost her fingers too. She suffered a lot. Even the cap on her head melted.
Family, friends, and acquaintances are helping. They are clearing the debris, taking out what's left of the goods and equipment. Nearby, there are almost completely burned out trucks that also ended up at the epicenter of the strike. The building across from the attack site stands without windows and with a damaged roof. By some miracle, Mr. Dimitro's wife and 2 children survived inside it. Because the man says everything happened in an instant, there was no time to hide.
They didn't understand anything. They were buried under debris. The son was sitting in the armchair here. The daughter was sitting by that window, and the mother was lying on the sofa here. They didn't even have time to get scared.
Everyone got away with minor injuries, says Dimitro, and a severe fright. They don't even want to think about coming back.
My mom, her head was cut up. Not badly, but still. An arm, a leg, my son's arm. My daughter is considered to have a concussion. They took us to the hospital, but Svieta wasn't there, so they're taking us back somewhere. I don't know, we'll have to go somewhere else.
Dimitro's neighbor, Mr. Ivan, also barely survived after recovering from the first explosion. He ran outside to see if anyone needed help.
I just stepped out here a bit, and the cars were burning right over there. And I stood right here looking like this. Then I hear a drone coming from behind, a Shahed. I crouched down, crossed myself, and thought, God, whatever you will.
Well, it flew about 15 to 20 meters above me and hit the car directly.
Realizing that it was the second strike on the target, despite the danger, he rushed to rescue the victims.
People were screaming, so I ran. We pulled out 3 people. Well, what was he shouting? He was shouting, they were all shouting because they were wounded.
With this shelling, the Russians killed a woman and wounded her 5-year-old granddaughter, with whom she was going to the store to buy Burex. The child had to have her leg amputated. In total, 9 people were injured in the village as a result of the attack, and more than 30 families were left without a roof over their heads after their homes were destroyed. Anastasia Nevirna, Vladislav Komishin, Dnipropetrovsk region, TSN 1+1.
The situation in Pokrovsk remains critical. The enemy is building up its forces in the city. This was reported by the analytical portal Deep State. The Russians are establishing control over the area, setting up positions, have places for concentration, and are managing their logistics to infiltrate the city. However, our military continues to carry out sweeps and destroys the enemy by all available means. Drone pilots play a key role in this. Earlier, the Main Intelligence Directorate of the Ministry of Defense released footage of a military operation in this key city in Donetsk region. In particular, the footage shows the head of the Main Intelligence Directorate, Kirilo Budanov, at the command post. The Ministry of Defense's intelligence service states that a special operation by the Timur unit is ongoing in one of the areas of Pokrovsk that is crucial for frontline logistics. The 155th Separate Mechanized Brigade is also demonstrating the destruction of occupiers in Pokrovsk using drones. Overall, in the Pokrovsk direction, the occupiers attempted to break through our defenses more than 50 times over the past day. In 5 locations, fighting is still ongoing. In those areas alone, our defenders have eliminated over 100 occupiers. Fierce fighting is also ongoing in the Lyman, Kostiantynivka, and Oleksandrivka sectors of the front. Negotiations on Ukraine's accession to the EU could be completed in 2028. This was stated by Deputy Prime Minister for Euro-Atlantic Integration Taras Kachka, after the EU ambassador Katerina Maternova officially handed over the European Commission's report to Ukrainian officials, which contains an assessment of the progress of reforms necessary for Ukraine's accession. Kachka called the report the best in 3 years, while Maternova noted that this is the first time in history that the EU is conducting accession negotiations with a country where active hostilities are ongoing. At the same time, the European Commission's report states that Ukraine is showing progress in implementing key reforms despite the war with Russia. And furthermore, it continues to demonstrate remarkable resilience and commitment to its European path. Over the past year, Ukraine has demonstrated significant progress in areas such as energy and the digitalized economy. However, Brussels is concerned about the sphere of anti-corruption efforts. The repeal of the July laws, which undermined the independence of NABU and SAP and led to the cardboard revolution, did not fully resolve the problem. Excessive pressure on anti-corruption bodies remains a matter of concern, as noted in the report of the European Commission. The report also mentions the criminal prosecution of NABU detectives by the SBU and the State Bureau of Investigation, which, according to the EU, was not systemic in nature. EU Ambassador Katerina Maternova stated that Ukraine's progress toward the European Union depends on maintaining the independence of the anti-corruption bodies NABU and SEP. But alongside the criticism, the report also noted that Ukraine, despite the war, maintains a high level of democracy.
To be completely transparent, I also have to say that yes, there are areas that raise concerns, there are areas that we acknowledge need improvement. We have recommendations after each section, and if you compare them to last year, some recommendations have remained unchanged. Additional progress is needed here. We also reflected the events of July in the report and emphasized the need for stability and independence of anti-corruption institutions. And we note that further progress, of course, depends on maintaining their independence. But we welcome the tremendous amount of work that has been done.
This has been highlighted in the report, and for us it is important that The restrictions of martial law are proportionate and do not go beyond what is necessary. This is quite a unique story. It means that Ukraine maintains an appropriate level of democracy, openness, both in freedom of speech and in the functioning of democratic institutions. We are living up to our ambition to complete the negotiations in 2028. This means adopting all the necessary legislation by the end of 2027. So all our horizons remain unchanged.
And now, the continuation of the scandal related to NABU employees surveilling the building of the Office of the Prosecutor General of Ukraine. Let me remind you that the day before, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau stated that at night, special forces and prosecutors from the Prosecutor General's office searched their employee, using force against him. The Prosecutor General's office explained that they searched the home of the NABU employee because he had been surveilling the PGO building. According to the investigation, an unidentified man installed special technical devices on the canopy above the entrance to a residential building opposite the Prosecutor General's office in such a way that it was possible to see who was entering, leaving, or driving out of the building. Later, another person took these devices away. It was this employee who was searched, during which the man stated that he was a full-time employee of NABU and presented his official identification. He confirmed that he had removed the previously installed surveillance devices monitoring the Prosecutor General's office building and noted that he was acting on instructions from his superiors. A criminal case was opened regarding the possible illegal surveillance. NABU responded that their actions were lawful and that NABU employees are not required to inform prosecutors from the Prosecutor General's office about any operational or investigative activities unless these are related to the prosecutor's procedural oversight in a specific criminal case. Moreover, they added that martial law does not prohibit documentation within the framework of investigating corruption crimes. What do you think will be the outcome of this standoff between law enforcement agencies within Ukraine? Share your thoughts on this in the comments below the episode, and in the meantime, I will continue Tessin online. Today, the heating season began in Zaporizhzhia due to the warm weather. This happened later than in other regions. Despite the difficult security situation, the military administrations assured that they are ready for the cold. On the eve, additional units were installed in 7 of the city's boiler houses, provided by the German Society for International Cooperation. Each of them is capable of operating continuously for up to 700 hours. There are already 9 such units operating in Zaporizhzhia, and more are on the way. 44% are in the process of being installed. Heat is expected to be supplied to residents' homes within a week, with heating first being turned on in social infrastructure facilities.
In social institutions and public facilities, the temperature has already dropped below sanitary standards today. That is why, following a meeting of the Emergency Commission, we decided to start the heating season. We continue to strengthen engineering solutions based on our heating networks. At the moment, everything is proceeding as normal.
A horrific plane crash in the United States. At least 7 people were killed when a cargo plane exploded in midair and crashed near the airport. The accident occurred in Kentucky shortly after takeoff. Eyewitnesses report that within minutes the plane turned into a fireball, and then the burning debris fell onto the industrial area near the airfield. Firefighters are working at the sites of the fires. It is known that there were 3 crew members on board. They are presumed dead. 4 people were killed on the ground and 11 others were injured. Officials fear the number of victims may rise. The cause of the plane crash is currently under investigation. Holy, a lottery with a chance to win a spot in the cemetery. In Paris, local authorities are offering citizens the chance to participate in a lottery, the winners of which will have the privilege of being buried next to famous artists. For example, next to the writer Oscar Wilde or the singer Edith Piaf. According to the terms of the lottery, participants are offered 4,000 euros for the restoration of 10 tombstones if they purchase a burial plot next to them. According to the Paris Council, this scheme represents a compromise between respecting the deceased and giving residents the opportunity to be buried within the city limits. After all, Parisian cemeteries are currently for the most part overcrowded. The city hopes that this new program will help restore monuments in the famous cemeteries of Père-Lachaise, Montparnasse and Montmartre. These cemeteries have already become popular tourist destinations thanks to those who are buried there. In addition to Piaf and Wilde, Parisian cemeteries are the final resting place of novelist Marcel Proust, composer Frédéric Chopin, director François Truffaut, actress Jane Birkin, and other celebrities. Currently, only residents of Paris can apply to participate in the lottery. The drawing will take place in January. And already this Saturday, preparatory work will begin on Sophia Square to set up the Christmas and New Year location and to install the country's main Christmas tree. This was reported by the Kyiv City State Administration. As in previous years, the responsibility for installing, maintaining, and dismantling all structures will be covered by sponsors. The city will not spend any budget funds on this. And with the permission of the Capital Defense Council, the main New Year tree will be installed on Sophia Square. A small skating rink and several stalls with sweets and hot drinks. Organizers are also required to comply with electricity usage restrictions and safety measures. There will be no separate mass celebrations held on Sophia Square. The Defense Council also recommended that district administrations limit the holding of mass events in open areas during the celebration of Christmas and New Year 2026. So how is your holiday spirit? Are you already feeling the Christmas and New Year's vibes? And what do you think about this location on Sophia Square in general? Are you planning to visit? Share your thoughts in the comments under this episode. I'm looking forward to your interesting posts. The next episode is at 2 p.m. Don't miss it.